Right, we come to the statement. Home Secretary.
With permission, Mr. Speaker, I would like to make a statement about the horrific events in Nottingham. Nottinghamshire Police have confirmed that a 31-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of murder after 3 people were killed in Nottingham city centre early on Tuesday morning. The same individual is suspected of stealing a van and then running over another 3 people who are now being treated for their injuries, one of whom remains in critical condition. We know that a knife has been used in these attacks, and 2 of the victims were students at Nottingham University. The 3rd victim was the owner of the van that police suspect was stolen and used to run down those pedestrians. I know that the whole House will join me in expressing our sorrow and that our thoughts and prayers are with the victims' families, friends, and all those affected. All of us extend the hand of friendship to the people of Nottingham. I'm, of course, being kept fully informed by law enforcement on the ground and receiving regular updates. Mr. Speaker, the House will appreciate the critical importance of following due process at all times. It's completely natural to seek answers immediately when something terrible happens, but it's also vital that those answers are wholly accurate. Speculating out loud is never helpful and runs the risk of being counterproductive. The police have asked for patience while the inquiries continue, Mr. Speaker. I can tell the House that the police are working flat out to establish the full facts and provide support to everyone affected. They are currently keeping an open mind as to the motives behind these attacks, but I can confirm Nottinghamshire Police are being assisted in their inquiries by counter-terror police, though this does not mean that it is currently being treated as a terrorist attack. I'm grateful to all our emergency services for being on the scene and dealing in a professional manner with a deeply distressing situation. We all owe them a huge debt of gratitude. At awful moments like this, Mr. Speaker, it is vital that we come together as a country, and I have no doubt that we will. The City of Nottingham and all its people are at the forefront of all our minds, and every resource of the state is at their disposal, and I commend this statement to the House.
We now come to the Shadow Home Secretary-elect.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Home Secretary for her statement, for advance sight of it, and join with her and with the whole House in expressing our deep sorrow and shock at this truly awful attack. The families of those who have been killed have expressed their tributes to their lost loved ones, and so I join them in paying tribute to Barnaby Webber and Grace Kumar, 2 young, talented students who had hugely promising futures ahead of them. We've seen the tributes from their heartbroken families and also from the local and national sports clubs that they played for. We pay tribute to Ian Coates, a school caretaker. We've also seen the tributes from his family and the school he worked for, who said he always went the extra mile for them. And our condolences, thoughts and prayers go to their families, their loved ones, their friends and colleagues. And our thoughts and best wishes too go to the 3 other people who have been injured in this same terrible attack, and to their families who will be so deeply distressed at what has happened, worrying for their loved ones. And we stand in solidarity with the people of Nottingham and the University of Nottingham, where the 2 young people were studying, all so shocked and devastated at what has happened, but also so determined to come together in the face of tragedy. People who gathered in Vigil last night, the sober words and tributes from the council leader, from local MPs, local faith and community leaders, and everyone particularly will join in thanks to the emergency services who have had to respond to this awful attack, saving lives and keeping people safe. As the Home Secretary has said, an individual has been arrested, and this is still a major ongoing investigation, and it is not appropriate for us to speculate or say anything that would interfere in that investigation. But can I welcome the involvement of counter-terror police at an early stage of this investigation? That does nothing to preempt any conclusion about the potential motive behind this attack, but I have raised in the past the importance of having CT police expertise involved at an early stage while motives and circumstances are investigated, rather than being brought in at a much later stage once relevant material has been gathered. So can the Home Secretary confirm this is a sensible approach for the expertise and assistance of the counter-terror police to be drawn on at an early stage, even before any conclusion has been reached? And can she tell us if she's been given any timetable for updates on this issue? She'll know there are also wider concerns about the need for properly coordinated and appropriate sensitive support for the victims of major incidents, including terror attacks. So can she set out what support is available for the families and friends of those affected and for the services and people in Nottingham? Doubtless there will be countless more questions for the community and for Parliament once more is known about this dreadful attack. But for now, we send our support to Nottinghamshire Police in their investigation, and all our thoughts and solidarity to those who have lost loved ones and to the people of Nottingham at this difficult time.
Home Secretary.
I thank the Right Honourable Lady for her comments and the sentiment with which she makes them. The Nottinghamshire Police are leading the investigation. It is they are at a very early stage. They have carried out a number of searches, a number of inquiries across the city, and they will continue to gather evidence over the coming days. And police and other agencies are working flat out to establish the full facts and provide support to everyone affected. As I said, and I'll reiterate, the police have asked for time and space and patience while those inquiries continue. I'm being kept regularly updated by the police and agencies on the ground. There is the families of all of the victims have been informed and are being supported by specialist police officers. As there are casualties and 3 fatalities, there is a real need for emergency care for those families, as you would imagine, and specialist support is being put on for those who are directly affected. But I echo the sentiment of the House, as expressed by the Prime Minister, that we are all saddened, shocked, and our hearts are with those affected, the victims, their families, their friends, their communities, and the City of Nottingham.
Does Chair of the Security Committee, Sir Julian.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When a despicable incident of this sort occurs, whether it be at the gates of Parliament or on the streets of a university town, the community looks to the security agencies to be able to investigate and establish the motives for the attack, the background of the attack, and whether any other people were involved. Does the Home Secretary agree with me that it is therefore both important and understandable why the intelligence community has the capacity that it has to investigate people's online life, for example, and why the high-tech companies that provide these communication services have a duty, both morally and legally, to cooperate with the security community so that horrible episodes like this can be fully investigated and the findings established?
Home Secretary.
My right honourable friend makes some very pertinent observations. The emergency services work together to respond to suspected terrorist attacks through the Joint Emergency Services Interoperability Principles, JESIP, and they're designed to improve joint working between all of the emergency services, and that the Jessup joint doctrine complements the single service and specialist multi-agency guidance. And when there is a particular attack with an online element, which he refers, we will enact our crisis response protocol, which is an element of practice which has been designed to deal with situations where of that character.
Spokesperson Alison Poulos.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I thank the Home Secretary for advance sight of her statement. And on behalf of the Scottish National Party, I extend our condolences to the families and the friends and loved ones of Barnaby Berber, Grace Kumar and Ian Coates, and our thoughts are with those also injured and with the people of Nottingham more widely. I would like to express our thanks also to all the emergency services and those providing ongoing support to those affected at this time. Can I ask the Home Secretary what more is being done to provide reassurance to all parts of the community in Nottingham and to prevent the spreading of speculation, as she's mentioned in her statement? And although I appreciate that things are in a very early stage indeed, what process will she put in place to ensure that all lessons are learned from this shocking incident so that this cannot happen again?
Home Secretary.
Well, the Nottinghamshire Police, working with local authorities and agencies, are working intensively to ensure that not only the investigation work is carried out effectively, but also those who are directly affected by this terrible incident are getting all the support they are entitled to.
Andrew.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Yesterday's horrific attacks in Nottingham City has devastated our county. 3 innocent lives have been lost, and I'd like to offer my deepest condolences to the families of those who have died and my thoughts to those who are injured. I'd like to thank the emergency services for the work they have done. The town of Beeston in my constituency of Broxtowe has a large student population. They and many members of the public will currently be feeling shaken and afraid. I would ask the Secretary of State for reassurances that all will be done to support the families, our student population and our communities at this very difficult time.
Home Secretary.
Well, it's particularly galling that there is a vibrant, youthful university community which will be so tragically affected by this tragic incident, and the university is supporting the students' family and friends as well as staff and the student body. They're working very closely with the authorities on the ongoing investigation into the incident, and the Secretary of State for Education has been in touch with the Vice-Chancellor of the university to offer any support that might be needed from the Department for Education.
Chair of the Select Committee, Dame Diana Johnson.
Mr Speaker, and can I thank the Home Secretary for making this statement today and for the information that she has been able to pass on to the House, and I look forward to further updates in the coming weeks. Can I also extend my thoughts and prayers with all those who are killed and injured, their families and friends, and of course we all recognise the vital role of the emergency services in dealing with these very fast-moving incidents. And I just wondered if the Home Secretary might be able to say if she's identified any additional support that Nottinghamshire Police need at this time.
Home Secretary.
Well, I am in personal and regular contact with the Chief Constable of Nottinghamshire Police, and I have made that offer very clear to her. We stand ready here at the Home Office to help in whatever way she requests, but to date this operation is being led very effectively by the Chief Constable in Nottinghamshire and with her team.
Brendan Clark-Smith.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As a proud Nottinghamian, I have to say it's been a very difficult couple of days for us all, and particularly for those who represent people in the areas affected. But would the Home Secretary join me in praising the emergency services for the work they have done, for reacting so quickly, and not just the whole community of Nottingham, but particularly our students, our universities, and joining with us as a House to do everything that we can to support them going forwards.
Home Secretary.
My honourable friend speaks for his constituents and the people of Nottinghamshire when he sets out our thanks admiration and gratitude for those on the front line and in the emergency services who are responding right now to the tragic consequences of this terrible incident. They are heroes, and we must thank them day after day for their fantastic work.
Nadia Witt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to send my deepest condolences to the families and friends of the victims of yesterday's attacks and to wish a full recovery to those injured. I would also like to thank the emergency services who've been working tirelessly responding to this tragic incident, including the first responders who battled to save lives at the scene. Nottingham is devastated by the deaths of 3 residents of our city, Grace Kumar, Barnaby Webber and Ian Coates. It was incredibly moving to join the vigil yesterday at St Peter's Church, where hundreds of people came together in grief, among them many students who lost 2 much-loved members of their community. Will the Home Secretary join me in paying tribute to the people of Nottingham, to their unity and resilience at this painful time?
Home Secretary.
The Honourable Lady speaks with passion and care for her constituents, and I echo the sentiment that she's expressed. The people of Nottingham will be shaken beyond belief over the events over the last few days. We are with them as a nation, and we stand by them, with them, and we will support them in all ways that they need.
Tom Randall.
Speaker, Nottingham is a great city with a proud history and a bright future. So to see that these crimes have unfolded across my home city has been deeply upsetting. Will the Home Secretary, I'm sure, and the whole House will join me in sending our deepest condolences to the victims, their family and friends, and to the injured, and to thank the police and the emergency services for the work that they have done and will continue to do. As we begin to take stock of what has happened and to cope with what has happened, I know that there is support available for those who have been affected, for example, from the Nottinghamshire Victims Care Service. So will the Home Secretary join me in encouraging those who have been affected by this in any way to seek the support that they need as we begin to take stock and begin that slow process of recovery over this dreadful incident?
Home Secretary.
Well, there has been a magnificent response from the local authorities and the local emergency services, and in particular with regard to the families and those who are affected because of the incident. There is a wide range of extensive support which is currently on offer for them, and those who are affected shouldn't hesitate to get in touch with the local authorities to seek that support.
Lillian Greenwood.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Everyone in Nottingham was shocked by yesterday's senseless attacks. Barnaby and Grace were just walking home after a night out. Ian appears to have been on his way to work. Today, many people in our community are feeling incredibly frightened, fearful even to walk down their own street. Will she give a commitment to our city that she will ensure Nottinghamshire Police has the resources it needs, not only to keep our city safe, but to provide all our residents with the reassurance that they need to live their lives without fear today, in the weeks and in the months ahead?
Home Secretary.
Well, I thank the Honourable Lady for her words. She's absolutely right. The people of Nottingham will feel grief, they will feel fear, and they will feel profoundly disturbed by what has happened. Their homes, their places of work, where they come from. It is going to affect people in many, many ways. We want to keep them safe. That is my job, that is the police's job. That is why the police are working intensively right now, not only to secure the environment and to make sure that an investigation is conducted effectively. We need to support them in their work.
Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I speak as a man who's lived in Nottinghamshire all his life, and Nottingham is a beautiful city with wonderful people, and I doubt that the people of Nottingham and Nottinghamshire will ever come to terms with this vile and cruel act. The public want answers, but more importantly, they need to know that they are safe on the streets of Nottinghamshire. So what reassurances can the Home Secretary give to the people of Ashfield and the whole of Nottinghamshire and Nottingham City, especially, that they are safe and the police are getting all the resources that they need?
Home Secretary.
People can feel safe in Nottingham going forward. I know that is difficult for many people to feel in the immediate aftermath of a terrible incident of the type we have just seen. But they must know that the police are working flat out to get to the bottom of this. Ultimately, we all want justice. And we are also backing the police and all of the other professionals to ensure that they can do their operational work as effectively as possible.
Alex Norris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Our community has been shaken by these devastating events. Yesterday, we stood together at a vigil in St Peter's Church, a sad and poignant act of reflection of the loss and pain that our city is feeling. And our city's thoughts are with those who've lost their lives, of their loved ones, and of those who've been injured, and our gratitude is with our emergency services. Nottingham is a beautiful and vibrant city. We're a diverse community where people of every culture and background live together peacefully, and that cohesion is going to be more important than ever. We will need our partnerships that characterise that cohesion to come together. The faith community, civil society, academic institutions who have been so rocked by the loss of members of their family, and our statutory services and the public more widely. Will the Home Secretary commit her department's support to these important efforts?
Home Secretary.
Simply put, yes. The Honourable Gentleman, again, speaks with devotion and care to his residents and constituents. And frankly, there are no words to describe the pain and anguish that people are feeling right now in Nottingham. But exactly as he says, communities, faith groups, the professionals coming together to support one another in a spirit of recovery and unity is the way that we will rebuild from this.
Maggie Throop.
Speaker, many Eros residents work and socialise in Nottingham. In fact, just last Friday, I drove along the Ilkeston Road to go to Nottingham, where two young people who had got such bright futures ahead of them sadly lost their lives. So I know the area very well. And I know that Eros residents will want to extend their thoughts and prayers to everybody affected, the victims and their families, but also to the wider population of Nottingham. And I suppose my question is to the Home Secretary is what more can be done to support the people who are perhaps hidden victims, who won't necessarily come forward for support, so perhaps not the students, not the ones that were actually there at the time, but those who are now fearful to go out and to go to work or to go into the city centre. Can my honourable friend look at ways to extend that support out into the community to make that support very visual and very accessible as well?
Home Secretary.
Well, my honourable friend makes a good point that there will be hidden victims and hidden those in the shadows, so to speak, who will be profoundly affected by what has happened. And it is important that they come out of the shadows, that they do seek the support. It is there. The local authority is working intensively to ensure that the right support is put on for people. The medical services are there if people need extra care. And of course, the law enforcement services are working intensively to ensure that we have a good and effective police investigation.
Christine Jardine.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and I'd like to thank the Home Secretary for her statement, and on behalf of my party, Liberal Democrats, to pass on our deepest condolences to everyone affected by the horrific incident. Our thanks to all of the emergency services, but most especially our thoughts and prayers to the families who have lost precious loved ones. When you send your child off to university, it is with hope, pride and excitement for the future. That it should have ended this way for the Webber and the Kumar families is horrific, and our thoughts are with them. It is, as the Home Secretary says, too early for speculation, but can she reassure the House that when we know what has been at the root of this incident, that we will learn the lessons, every lesson possible, and we will ensure that the families feel that justice has been done for them?
Home Secretary.
Well, I'm personally very moved by listening to the Honourable Lady, and in fact, it's imagining what those families must be feeling right now, going through, experiencing. It's unimaginable for most of us, and the nightmare that every parent dreads. We need to allow the police to complete their investigation, subject to what they unearth and what is put forward. Yes, of course, every victim of crime wants to see justice done. That is ultimately what the rule of law is about.
Ian Duncan Smith.
Mr. Speaker, I align myself completely with everything that's been said about the people of Nottingham and the difficulties they're going through now. But Grace O'Malley Kumar, as one of the two, was in fact a resident in Woodford, and I remember that she has been part of Woodford Wells Cricket and Hockey Club. She was a star, England under 16, England under 18, all destined for a great future. Can I say to my right honourable friend, it's very important, I think, both the communities in Nottingham and the families are protected, but all of those people who got to know her and had high hopes for her will have those dashed as well. So can we make sure that there is a degree of outreach to all of those people that were worked with her, that helped her grow, because the devastation, not just of a lost life, but of a lost future that may have changed other lives for the better, is the terrible devastation of this terrible act.
Home Secretary.
My right honourable friend puts it very powerfully that the ripple effects of this tragedy will be felt far and wide, and it will take considerable time for many people to recover and move on with their lives. This is a tragedy of an enormity that the people of Nottingham haven't seen, but also many other groups and communities around the country.
Jim Shannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Secretary of State very much for her statement and for her clear compassion for those who grieve today. It is just heartbreaking to hear of the tragedy and the cruel, vicious, devastating deaths of two young aspiring students and a man in his 50s. On behalf of my party, the Democratic Unionist Party, and myself, I wish to send our sympathies and condolences to the family and friends of all the victims and to the good people of Nottingham. Fear does stalk the streets of the United Kingdom. So can I ask, will the Secretary of State ensure that any details relating to the motivation behind the attack will be revealed to the general public so that future predators and murderers can be identified and that swift action can be taken to preserve life? Thank you.
Well, decisions like that are one for the police, and once they establish the facts and if and when they bring charges and if there is an ensuing prosecution, the facts will become aired in the proper course of justice.
Jane Hunt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Nottingham is usually thought of as a vibrant city, usually full of joy and excitement, and is close to my own constituency of Loughborough. Mr. Speaker, may I offer on behalf of the people of Loughborough, my heartfelt condolences to the city, to the families, to the Nottingham members of Parliament, and to everyone who has been involved and been impacted by this shocking and senseless act. Will the Home Secretary join me in underlining that this whole House is united in their condemnation of what has happened?
Home Secretary.
Absolutely. This tragedy, this despicable act cannot be condoned and must be condemned in the strongest possible way. And I think on that, this House is united.
Vicky Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just draw attention to my record of interest, which shows that I'm a member of the Board of Essex Cricket, which is based in my Chelmsford constituency. Grace O'Malley Kumar played cricket for Essex from the age of under 11 to under 15s. She was highly talented. With bat and ball, she captained the team. She was a massive talent, a respected captain, and an awesome teammate. The club is devastated. I know that Barnaby Webber was also a very keen sportsman and talented future. And I am sure that there are people all over the country who played at the England level with Grace and played cricket with Barnaby, who will miss them so deeply. So as well as sending our condolences and our love to their families and their friends now at university, please can we also remember all those young people who shared their love of sport?
Home Secretary.
Well, my honourable friend speaks very powerfully on behalf of those affected at the cricket team, and she mentions, all I'm going to say, she mentions the word love, and she is right. We are sending our love to the family, the friends, and all of those people who knew the victims.
Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and obviously at this time we all express our condolences to the families, friends, and everyone that knew the victims of this terrible tragedy. And it would obviously not be right for any of us to speculate on the motives or rationale for such a dreadful attack. But one of the clear issues which will be of concern to the people of Nottingham and beyond will be, are they safe now, and did this individual act alone or in concert with others that they then represent a threat to other people? So will she give an assurance to this House that as soon as the police are able to inform the House of the position, that she will relate that widely? And will she also, once the investigations are complete, update the House on the reasons and rationale for this attack, and indeed what the history of the individual may have been?
Home Secretary.
Well, Nottinghamshire Police are doing a good job of regularly updating the public, and they've already made several public statements as the investigation is progressing. I don't want to look behind that or undermine that process. I must allow them to carry out their investigations in the fullest and safest possible way. We wouldn't expect anything less of our police.
And we've got somebody who knows about terrorism, Anna Fair.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of everybody in the new city of Southend, I want to pay tribute to all those who were senselessly murdered and offer our sincere condolences to the victims' family and friends. I hear that we mustn't jump to conclusions, but we do know that a knife was used in these attacks. And I know that tackling knife crime is one of the Secretary of State's absolutely top priorities, which is why she has recently been consulting on reforming our knife laws. And I wondered if she wanted to use this opportunity to underline that commitment and possibly give us an update on the consultation and when it might be published and implemented.
Home Secretary.
My honourable friend again speaks with considerable power when she expresses her condolences towards those who have been affected by this tragic incident. And the government has made £130 million available this year to tackle serious violence, including murder and knife crime. We've increased the powers in particular pieces of legislation. But fundamentally, this is about a tragedy. We must all keep working relentlessly to ensure that incidents like these don't happen again, and this is what we're working to do at the Home Office.
I think the House is always at its best when it comes together, and it's certainly come together today, where we all pay our respects to those who's died, and all our thoughts are for the victims, the families, and those people who have suffered in the city of Nottingham. Right, we now... Point of order, Jim Shannon.
And I've indicated to one of the members beforehand, staff members, has the Secretary of State for DCMS indicated that he is to come before this House to announce his intention to discuss with the Director General of the BBC recent cases whereby licence fee payers are to pay for all costs and all compensation in a series of recent tribunal cases, particularly two female former BBC employees in Northern Ireland. There has to be, Mr. Speaker, I believe, accountability for...
Honourable member, I've got the gist of what he's asking me. The answer is no. Right, we now move to the 10-minute rule bill. Emma Lowbell.